everyone here. I think I gave a heads up to my cohort. I don't know if that made its rounds to the other cohorts as well, that today's guest speaker is one of my all-time favorite guest speakers that we have in LearnServe. Because I had the pleasure of meeting Yasmine 10 years ago when she was a student in the LearnServe Fellows program. And I was blown away by her vision, her creativity, and passion for a cause when she was part of the LearnServe Fellows program, and have continued to be a fan and a supporter since then. And I'm actually really proud to serve as treasurer of the board of directors of her nonprofit organization, ScholarCHIPS, which provides college scholarships and mentorship to children who have a parent or a close family member who is incarcerated. And so I'm so excited for you all to meet Yasmine, to learn from Yasmine. And as I always joke with her, I think that I have learned as much or more from her than I think she has from me. So I hope that you all get a chance to enjoy that as well. So with that, Yasmine, I will pass it over to you, and you can take it away with this incredible group of LearnServe Fellows that we have here with us this year.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you, Florence. Can you all hear me well? Okay. Well, it's really exciting. I'm really excited to be with you all today. I wish it were in person, but this is the next best thing in the midst of COVID. I hope you all are doing well and that you're have adjusted or you're doing okay with doing school online. I know it's a totally different experience, but we'll get through this together. I'm really honored that Florence and Scott, after so many years, still continue to invite me to LearnServe to talk about what my experience was like as a LearnServe student, was a LearnServe fellow, and now being an alumna 10 years later. Like, oh my goodness, where's the time going? But what I'm going to do is what my plan is for today, I'm going to set my timer, so I'm respectful of the time, of your time. And I'm going to set it for like 10 minutes here. And I'm going to share my screen. So I have some pictures. We're going to go back down memory lane. And I'll tell you about my experience in LearnServe and how I came up with my venture project. And then, you know, sort of tell you where we are now, and offer you some encouragement. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh. Okay, I'm not sure what this means. When I click share screen, it doesn't allow. Okay, I'm trying to share my No, that's not what I want. Is there a way that I can share my desktop?
There should be. When you press share screen, it doesn't pop up as one of the options.
No, the only option that pops up, it says whiteboard. I'm not sure what that means. Usually it shows up as an option to share the screen.
Yeah. Maybe if you go to advanced.
Oh, maybe advanced. Okay, let's see.
If not, you can send your stuff to me and I can share it, and you can get started.
I'm sorry, guys. Sorry for the technical. Let's see. All right, I'm going to send it to you really quick, Florence.
Okay, perfect. I did make her a co-host. She is a co-host. And unfortunately, Zoom is still not working. But thank you, students, for all messaging me at once. That I need to make. I think I just got about 10 messages from students being like, Flo, you have to make her a co-host. I appreciate it though, girls. Normally I'm bad at this.
Okay, Florence, I just sent it to you.
All right, great. So you can get started and I will just start sharing when I get it.
Okay, so I became a LearnServe Fellow back in 2010. I did not know anything about LearnServe, but I went to Banneker High School in DC, and I had some peers who kept saying, Yasmine, you should really check out this program called LearnServe. You should really sign up for LearnServe. And so I finally, one day I sat down and Googled LearnServe, and I read about the program, and I thought, I mean, it was very intriguing. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was also cool that LearnServe offered a sort of service learning program where you could study abroad. Honestly, that was like a big hook for me at the time. And so I applied and I was interviewed. I believe that, I'm pretty sure, Scott, that you ended up interviewing me. I got into the program and the rest was history. You know, LearnServe was an excellent experience for me as a teenager, because it was one of the first times that I was I was exposed to people from, you know, my peers from different backgrounds, from DC, Maryland, and Virginia, from public schools, private schools. It was just a really rich experience where I got to meet a lot of different really cool people who were kind of like A personalities and driven, very driven like me, who wanted to see social change. But, you know, I think one of the most pivotal turning point, well, I'll say this, one thing that really was so great for me while I was in LearnServe, that, you know, at the time when I was going through it, I didn't really realize the significance of it, but it was having it was leaving an imprint on my mind, is when we were having guest speakers who were all doing some type of social good work or social justice work. Some of them were in nonprofits, you know, they were like, either they were executive directors or they were running organizations that have like a social good outcome or aspect. And then there were some that were maybe in the for-profit world, but they had you know, social justice or a social good aspect of the work that they were doing, right? And so, you know, LearnServe, of course, they ask you what pisses you off, right? And at the time, I didn't exactly understand what the question, what they were getting at when they asked that question, right? Like, I was thinking more about microaggressions, like things like that, or, you know, somebody smacks gum in the back of my head, like things like that I was thinking. But, you know, no, we were talking about what, you know, Scott, he was my cohort leader at the time, and he challenged us to, you know, look into, take observation, you know, look at your community. Can we go back to the first slide, please? Look back at your community, into your community, in your school, your home, and think about things that, you know, you see that make you upset, that make you angry, make you sad, make you want to see some change, or make you think like, you know, this is messed up, you know, or I think that this can be improved, right? So the issue I ultimately identified, and I'll explain the photos in a minute, but the issue I identified was the mass incarceration in the prison industrial complex. Now that is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. But one of the reasons why that issue is this very complex issue is near and dear to my heart is because I'm the child of an incarcerated parent. My father has been in and out of jail and prison my entire life. I'm 27 now, and he's incarcerated at this very moment. And so I knew what the struggles were of children that have incarcerated parents. You know, there are financial struggles, there are mental, emotional struggles. You know, when you're younger and you have the father-daughter dances at school or in Girl Scouts, and you're like, okay, well, you know, where's my dad? And then I had to, you know, had this really macro level issue that I had to narrow down. I had to narrow down my focus, right? And Scott was there to help advise me and guide me through that process, which let me say, definitely, I'm sure you already do this, but if you haven't tapped into it yet, definitely tap into your cohort leaders, because that's what they're there for. When you have questions, when you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I do next? Or how do I think about this? How do I create a budget? How do I create a project proposal? That's what they're there for. And they're happy to help you and to make suggestions, right? This guy, I see Scott putting up the thumbs up. So yes, I mean, tap into them, even if you just walk up and ask them a question, or, you know, call, I don't know if you all have numbers, or, you know, send them an email or something like that. Anyhow, I had to narrow my focus down. So I ultimately narrowed it down to the effects of parental incarceration on children and families, which is much more specific because it's out of this big issue. Now, okay, we're focusing on how having an incarcerated parent affects a child. And then at the same time, my maternal grandmother and I, who has raised me and my two brothers, she and I were I was a junior in high school when I was a fellow at LearnServe. And so we were avidly researching online scholarships that I could apply for so I could afford the college attendance. And, one day we were sitting in the dining room, and she mentioned to me, she said, Yasmine, there's so many creative scholarships out here. There are scholarships for military families, scholarships where when students, you make your prom dress out of duct tape, scholarships for folks who are left-handed, but I don't see any scholarships for young people who have incarcerated parents. So that was that aha moment that you may have heard people talk about. That was an aha moment. And while I didn't have it, that was okay. LearnServe had planted the seed in my mind to observe what was going on in my community and issues, social issues that come up, and things that I want to see change or improve. And so I thought my wheels were just turning, and I started doing research. And I found out that over 2 million youth in the United States have an incarcerated parent. I said, what? You've got to be kidding me. You mean to tell me there are we're not talking hundreds, we're not talking thousands, we're talking millions. There are millions of other kids like me who have incarcerated parents. Oh my, like poof, I had no idea. And so, college is expensive, even if you go to a community college, right? Even like they're going to be expenses. And so I went back to LearnServe. I was thinking, doing some thought, talking with my grandmother, went back to LearnServe. I said, hey, Scott, do you think I could start a mentorship and/or scholarship program for young people like me who have incarcerated parents? And he said, well, sure. If that's really what you want to do, but you have to make sure you know how to differentiate yourself. How are you going to differentiate your program from the thousands of other mentorship programs and scholarship programs, right? Oh, that's my timer. But we took off some time when we were trying to pull up the PowerPoint. But I'll just conclude just with a few more points. So anyway, I just thought it would be cool to show you some pictures of when I was in LearnServe. This picture right here that you can see is of me and two of my good friends. You might recognize one of them. That's Emma in the middle there. And on the far left is Allende Cunningham. We're all good friends. He went to School Without Walls. And Emma is now working full-time at LearnServe in development. And this is when we were in Zambia. So that was after the full year program of LearnServe, the three of us in a larger group, we went to Zambia, Africa for about 14 days or so. And I think it was a little longer than 14 days. And we went to different communities. We went to Chikambuso, which is a community of widows that adopt orphans, and they teach them. I mean, it was an amazing experience, and we brought a lot of donations over there. It was a wonderful experience. So that's just a picture of me. We were playing with the paint. Like Allende was acting like he was going to put the paint on me. So that's what you're seeing there. Florence, can you go to the next slide, please? And then this is a picture. Sky hasn't seen this picture in a really long time. I look a little, I don't know what the face I was making right there, but anyway, this is a picture of me and Nyaka Carter, excuse me. At the time, she had learned about my venture project, and she had an uncle who had been incarcerated, and she felt very, she had a personal connection to the at the time, the seed, the idea of ScholarCHIPS, and she wanted to be my LearnServe partner. And so we partnered for some time. And this is a picture of us at the LearnServe Fair. Well, it was one of the LearnServe fairs. At that time, we had well, it was almost like a science fair. You would get the big science board, and you would put your ideas together. So if you kind of look in the back there, you can see it says ScholarCHIPS, and then it says the issue, and it has the budget. So like we literally had to do all of our research, make a plan, and lay it out. So that's what that picture is, right? That was in 2010. Florence, could you go to the next slide, please? And here we are. We're bringing it to 2020. This was our annual award ceremony. What year was that? It wasn't this year. I think it was 2018. And so that's a picture of the lovely cohort that came into scholarships in 2018. So we're a DC-based nonprofit that provides college scholarships, mentoring, and a support network to children of incarcerated parents, inspiring them to complete their college education. So, you know, as you can see, what started off as just an idea at LearnServe, and there are many nuanced details I won't get into too much just because of the time, but I did do the pitch competition, and the pitch, you know, my heart was racing. I was very nervous, but I tell you, the judges, they loved the idea of ScholarCHIPS. I played a little clip from a movie called, I think, Purple Violet. And it was about a woman who had children, and she ended up being incarcerated for something she didn't do, I think. And anyway, the judges loved the presentation. They fell in love with the idea of ScholarCHIPS. They gave us the green light to launch the venture. And at the time, I don't know if LearnServe still has a partnership with Ashoka, but at the time they were partnered with Ashoka, and we were approved for $1,000 seed grant. So I was like, whoa, I'm like, okay, so now I actually have to do something. And LearnServe was willing to become, I didn't know anything about nonprofits I didn't know, nobody says, you know, most folks, when you're young, you don't think, oh yeah, when I grow up, I want to be the executive director of a nonprofit. Like that's usually not what you're thinking, right? Because you really don't know much about it unless your mother or your father is an executive director or a CEO. So LearnServe was willing to be the fiscal agent of ScholarCHIPS for a few years, and LearnServe, Scott helped us to get connected with a law firm that took us on pro bono, and then we got our incorporation status and our 501c3 status. So then we became an official nonprofit, and we branched off. And to date, we've awarded over $250,000 in college scholarships and book awards. And thank you guys so much. Yeah, to 61 scholars. And we've had 22 college graduates. And of course, we have some more graduates, you know, some more young people who are seniors in college now who are up for graduation. And we've had several scholars who immediately after they graduated undergrad, they went on to graduate school and or law school to get their Juris Doctorate. And we have one young lady now who did graduate with her Juris Doctorate. Then she went on for a year to work as a law clerk at a Maryland courthouse. And then immediately after that, now she's working at a law firm called O'Donoghue and O'Donoghue LLP. And then we have another young man. He graduated from Morgan State University. Immediately, he went out to California, to the University of California, Irvine, and studied innovation and entrepreneurship. And he just graduated, and now he is an account executive the name is escaping me, but at a marketing and PR firm. So anyway, I'll say this, just know that the work that you're doing here at LearnServe it's a very unique opportunity that you have. So I highly recommend that you take full advantage of it. You trust me, in it right now, you might not understand the significance of it. Well, you may not understand, like, you know, like when you're going through it, you haven't been through it before. So you're hearing a lot of different terminology that you might not be familiar with. You're hearing people throw out terms like social justice or social good or impact. And you're like, okay, you know, what are all of these things mean? 501c3, okay, what is that? That's a status. You get that from IRS, like, okay. There's a lot of things that are going to be thrown at you, but I say just stay inquisitive. Keep your curiosity, ask a lot of questions. Because I can tell you, if Scott, and I know he remembers, I was always coming to Scott with questions. I was like, Scott, what is the 501c3? How do I get a board of directors? How do I do this? How do I do that? right? And they'll be happy to answer. So yes, scholarships. And then this picture on the picture on the far left, the two young ladies, the one on the right and one on the left, they both have become they have become members of the board of directors as of September of 2019. So ScholarCHIPS is constantly growing. We typically have cohorts of 8 to 10 scholars on any given year. Next year, though, we'll be expanding to 15 scholars per cohort. And instead of giving half of the cohort, some of the cohort a scholarship and half of them a book award, we're giving them now both a scholarship and a book award guaranteed for 4 years. So we're growing. So whatever you do with LearnServe, just know that it's possible that if you're really passionate about your subject area, like whether it's environmental sustainability or equality, on equality for LGBTQIA persons, or you know, social justice for Black and Brown people, whatever whatever your topic is, just know that you can really take it to higher levels, even beyond LearnServe. But even if you don't, just know that the terminology, the terms that you're learning, the principle of service and learning from others, meeting other people, because surprisingly, there are several people who I met at LearnServe that I still keep in contact with to this very day. And they're doing amazing things. They have podcasts, you know, they have radio shows, they're, you know, running, they're working in nonprofits. So what you're doing now is, I commend you for doing that, for going above and beyond and enrolling in this program. And thank you for your voice and for caring about people and different issues that we're dealing with today. So that's all. I know I went a little over, but Florence, if you give me a time check and let me know how much time we have for if anyone has any questions for me. I know I went very quickly. I might have skipped over some things, but hopefully that'll give you has given you an overview of how my time was at LearnServe and what we do at ScholarCHIPS.
Thank you so much. Wow, you are just so inspiring every time I hear you, every time I talk to you.
Thank you, Florence.
So we still have about like 11-12 minutes for questions, which is great.
Oh, wow.
You did not go over. This is exactly what we wanted.
Oh, perfect.
So students, I really encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity and pick her brain about her experience and advice. So you're free to unmute yourselves and ask a question. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, write it in the chat. But this is your time now.
I have a question.
Yes. Hi, what's your name? What is your name?
Leah.
Leah. Nice to meet you, Leah.
Nice to meet you. What was the hardest part about your journey and how did you overcome it?
Just in LearnServe or just in general?
In general.
Ooh, that's a good question. The hardest part of my journey? Well, I can say, I mean, there are several moments that kind of have made certain moments difficult, but honestly, not having previous experience of running a nonprofit, much less building one from the ground up, it has had a lot of challenges. There have been so many moments where I say, you know what, I'm just ready to just walk away. Like, it's just been so many moments like that. There have been several moments like that, but it's always, I just think about the young people who some have become my friends, you know, or just really good acquaintances, people who I've come to admire, who inspire me. And they remind me why I do this work, why I do what I do. And so when I have those moments, I take some time to step back and then I think about them and they keep me going again. But one of the things when I was your age, I actually faced some ageism because there were folks who, I'm surprised they actually verbalized this, like actually said it out loud to me. But there were a couple people who said, oh, Yasmine, you know, this is a great idea. You know, you're a very ambitious young lady, but you're gonna, you know, chances are when you go to college, you're gonna forget all about this, or, you know, you like, how are you? There was just a sense of disbelief that I was truly dedicated to this mission, that I was, you know, that I was actually, that I was serious about it, that it wasn't just a here and now in this moment. I'm just sharing this with you to, you know, get this venture project credit or get this Girl Scout award. Like, no, it was something I was committed to. So there might be times when there are people who might make comments, or maybe they have a disbelief or some doubt about your ability or about your seriousness. And honestly, I think that's a bigger problem that we have in our country, where, you know, young people have been marching about gun violence, about, you know, reform for gun violence, you know, for like the need for more scrutiny and mental health, like screenings of people who get registered to purchase guns. Young people who've been out protesting about Black Lives Matter, young people who've been protesting about environmental, you know, sustainability and to make the environment better. And like, sometimes it seems like, you know, people in power or adults aren't listening and aren't taking us seriously. So I just say that if that happens to you, don't let it discourage you. Just let it be motivation to say, and I don't want to say the whole, oh, you know, prove them wrong, but just let it be motivation to say, no, you know, no, you're wrong. Like, I'm serious about this. I'm dedicated to it. And even if you don't start a nonprofit, you may end up working for an organization and help them to do some work in the community. Or, you know, like, you can take the tools that you're building with LearnServe with you anywhere and everywhere you go. But that's a really good question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
I see we have some questions in the chat. So we have, was it difficult to get the funding and outside professional support for your scholarship program?
Yeah, initially it was, but what they'll tell you, and I see your question, Scott. I think I kind of answered it. Let me know if I didn't. Okay, but there were some moments. Okay, so when you're starting anything, there are definitely going to be several challenges and roadblocks you have to overcome. And there will all, like, every level you go, there's always some other puzzle to figure out. It never stops. And honestly, I think that's life. But with funding, I'll say this. A lot of people were very enamored by a 16-year-old who, you know, had this really crazy goal. You know, yeah, I'm going to raise $30,000 and give out 3 $10,000 scholarships, right? Like, they were kind of like, who is this chick? Like, what is she talking about? And you know, it takes time when you're fundraising, and it takes time really when it comes to fundraising. I'm gonna give you the golden nugget here. It's about relationship building. You have to. It's not a if, it's a must. You have to develop genuine relationships with people, because at the end of the day, a lot of times they're investing. You know, you probably heard people say this. You might have even heard people say this at LearnServe, and I know Scott has said it too. People invest in people. Like, people do invest in ideas, but when you're talking about a social impact work, especially nonprofit social, now the for-profit, that's a whole another thing, you know, in terms of investing in venture capitalists. We're not going to even go, that's a whole nother conversation for another time, because they're more so in it for profit. But well, not everybody, but that's another, like I said, that's another discussion for another time. But with fundraising, when I was young, it was sort of easy when I started, because people were excited about the idea. It was going to get them a lot of press, you know, because I was transitioning from high school to college. You know, I had graduated from a DC public school. I was going to a prestigious college in the South, Elon University. And so kind of people sometimes funders want to get on the bandwagon. So it's like, so what happened was when I was a junior and I was, soon to be a senior, Dan Snyder from the Washington Redskins, I had applied because the Washington Redskins, they have a scholars program, like a college scholars program where they offer scholarships. So I had applied for the program, not knowing who at the foundation was going to look at my resume, look at my profile. Dan Snyder the owner of the Washington Redskins, ended up calling Banneker. They called me to the office. I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I get on the phone. It's Dan Snyder. He's like, hey, I've heard I'm Dan Snyder of the Washington Redskins. I said, oh, I know who you are. And he said, I've heard so much about your program. I just love what you're doing. I would like to match what you've raised thus far. And I wish I had raised much more at that point. But anyway, he gave, and then once that happened, and then Petula Dvorak, who she used to come to, I don't know if she still goes, but she used to come to the LearnServe fairs. She wrote an initial Washington Post article about scholarships, and then 2 or 3 years later, she wrote another one that came more funding. But I got to a point, I kind of got to like a first plateau where it was hard for me to try to raise much after that. Then I had to start applying for grants. I had to start, grant writing, which was a whole nother obstacle I had to overcome, because it's like language, you have to have strong writing skills, and grant writing is a very particular type of writing. So I had to learn that, and I'm still learning that, right? And then now I started to get funding from like the Kafers Foundation and from, other like family foundations. So that's another level. And now we're kind of plateauing there in terms of, okay, 5,000 here, 10,000 here. So it's like, it's always a struggle, I think, for a nonprofit that is not born out of an endowment, and where ScholarCHIPS is not born out of an endowment, because I am not wealthy yet, right? So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Fundraising is a constant thing. And you will have some challenges. You'll get a lot of rejections. Let me tell you, you get a lot of no's, but don't let that discourage you. Let that be a determination, because I always write back and I say, well, thank you so much for letting me know. May I please have some feedback, or can I set up a meeting with you so we can talk about my application, so that I can get some pointers from you so I can strengthen my application next year. When I tell you that happened with the Herb Block Foundation, they didn't give us any funding, because they didn't really know us. And I just kept meeting with them and setting up coffees and conversations. Do you know the next year they gave us a $7,000 grant? And then after that, one of the women just threw another $2,500, just because. So again, it's really about building relationships. I know that was a long answer, but I wanted to give you all that insight, because that's going to be helpful, especially if you end up in the nonprofit sector or some type of fundraising.
Thank you so much. I'm so upset that it looks like we have run out of time. But
I'm sorry, I talked a lot.
Flo, I'm gonna interrupt for 1 second.
Go for
Flo.
it.
I think first of all, just Yasmine, to underscore one of the pieces that you mentioned earlier, I think what stood out to me is that you build relationships and you keep people close who they're in your court always. And so you didn't mention this, but your board chair was your Girl Scout troop leader, for whom you put together the gold award for the Girl Scout troops, and ScholarCHIPS was sort of incubated as part of that program as well, and that she's stuck.
That's right.
In your middle school, I don't know what Mr. Magnuson was, but
he was my 7th or 8th grade social studies teacher
at Paul Public Charter School. And so just to say that, like, the people who really believe in you, hold them close. And I've seen you do that over and over again. And I think that, it pays off. I want to make sure before we part, Yasmine, that if there are any folks here who are either eligible for scholarships from ScholarCHIPS or know friends or peers or classmates at their school who are eligible, can you share a little bit more about how one might go about applying or being part of the organization?
Yes, most definitely. And I know you all have you've got to break out in teams and everything, but I'll put the website in the chat box. And also feel free, if you have further questions, Scott, Florence, feel free to share my email with everyone. Who was I going to say? Yes. So our application will open up in November of this year, and the application will be due around the end of March, like March 30th of 2021. And you have to be the child of an incarcerated parent or formerly incarcerated parent, have at least a 2.5, I think. It's either a 2.0 or 2.5 GPA to be eligible to apply. And you'll have to submit a few essays. They're short essays though. And you have to live in certain jurisdictions in DC, Maryland, Virginia, but all of you, since you're in LearnServe, I know that you're most likely within the confines of our jurisdictions. I think that's about it. And then, you have to be planning to attend a college or university, or some type of trade program or certification. So yes, please spread the word around, because like I said, we're increasing the number of students that we can welcome into the cohort, as well as the funding support. And each scholar gets is handpicked and matched with a mentor. So it's a great program. And if you know anyone who's eligible, share it with your school. Feel free to connect me with your counselors, your 12th grade counselors or college access or college readiness counselors. I would be more than happy to speak with them. I'm gonna put I just put it in the website in the chat. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Can everybody give Yasmine a huge round of applause with your emojis or with actual applause? So amazing, so inspiring. We're incredibly lucky to have you as a part of the LearnServe family, and to come
There's
back.
so many of you on here. Wow.
There's so many this year. It's so exciting.
I'm so excited.
Yasmine, we've got folks joining not only from the DC metro area, but Pennsylvania and Michigan as well this year. So yeah, ScholarCHIPS may have to expand its catchment area as well as you as you grow.
Oh man, that's so exciting.
It's awesome.
Keep up the great work, you guys. If you need encouragement, you need a cheerleader, of course, Scott and Florence, the whole LearnServe team is there, but I'm here too. I'm here for you too.
Yay. That's the biggest smile on my face. Perfect. Thank you so much, Yasmine.
Thank you.
And so right before we go on our break, I am going to hand the floor, or the Zoom floor, over to Tony and Lily, who are also two LearnServe Fellows alums from last year. And they are running the Student Action Summit this year. And I will hand it over to them to explain what that is and how you can get involved.
Hi everyone, my name is Lily and I was a fellow 2 years ago, and with Tony we are both co-coordinating the Student Action Summit this year. And so the Student Action Summit is a whole day of workshops that are led by students and for students. And so I am a senior in high school and Tony is a junior, and so we have been, with Florence's help, putting together this entire summit. And so the purpose of the summit is to really just provide an opportunity for DMB students to come together and learn from one another about the social issues that they're really passionate about. And so last year, we actually had a workshop from someone who is with the ScholarCHIPS program. And so she presented this amazing workshop that was a case study on children of incarcerated parents. And we also have had different workshops on fast fashion, a lot of sustainability and food and things like that. And I will now pass it on to Tony to talk about what our planning team is.
Yeah, thanks, Lily. So the planning team is 3 different committees. We have logistics, smart comm, and workshop. I just forgot. And workshop. And so the planning team, you have complete control over your section. Everyone plays in their part of the summit, and everyone puts their little touch on it. We all make big decisions as a group. Only commitments, just do what we ask, and we have like weekly meetings with us that are like 10 minutes. We have monthly, sometimes twice monthly meetings that are like everyone together. And last year, I was a fellows from last year, and I was also on the planning team for logistics. And so I really learned a lot about just like, I guess, professional development things that you don't really learn in high school, because I think a lot of high school classes, you guys probably know, you can kind of pretend that you're independent, but you're not really. But this, you really are independent, and you can learn your boundaries and really push yourself. And it's really cool to see the summit happen and be like, oh yeah, I put that together and that was my idea and stuff like that. And so we are opening our, like Lily said, our applications. And I think we're going to put it in the chat. And we would love if you could apply if you're interested by Sunday night. And I think that's it.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, please let us know.
Perfect. So yeah, it is a, thank you so much, Tony and Lily. This is maybe my favorite LearnServe event. I love all of our events, but this is a really cool one. It is completely run and organized by students. I have meetings with them every week and they tell me what to do. It is totally run by students and it is totally for students. So it's a really fun day. And you can either apply right now and be part of actually planning it. And then in about a month, you can apply to actually lead one of the workshops as well. So if you have any questions, reach out to me, Tony, Lily. You can put it in the chat right now. I will also send this information in my follow-up email tomorrow so you can learn more and officially apply. All right, yes, and it's open to everybody. And it's not, what would you say the time commitment is, Lily and Tony?
I would say it's a pretty non-intensive commitment. We have very brief weekly check-ins that are 10, 20 minutes long, and then every month